Use of social media, especially posts that blame victims or trivialize serious matters, sparking a heated debate following a topical justice campaign for a 7-year-old girl in Matatiele. Concerns also being raised about people sharing images based on assumptions of guilt before individuals are officially identified and charged. This, of course, brings up important questions about the limitations of free speech, especially on places like social media. Let's speak about this and bring in our guest. Sizwe Mtuze is a professor of Cyberlaw with Nelson Mandela University and joins us now via our video link. Prof, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks very much indeed for making time to speak to us. This is not a new discussion when it comes to the limit, for example, of freedom of speech on social media and secondary victimization. Perhaps a good place to start is the extent to which the law has caught up with dealing with these cases.
Good morning to yourself and good morning to your viewers. The law relating to freedom of speech is actually quite clear. It is in our constitution. Everyone does have the right to freedom of expression. Obviously, this has certain limitations. You cannot produce offensive comment. You cannot produce comment that violates the dignity of someone else. And most importantly, you cannot be sharing sexual content of minors being either abused or in another compromising situation.
Yeah. In the past, there have been real concerns about the extent to which people can remain anonymous on social media. And that's why I suppose many feel emboldened, for example, to respond insensitively to somebody coming out about a particular, sexual violence case against them or involving them. Are we finding that it's becoming a whole lot easier to track down people who feel invincible on these platforms?
Oh, most definitely. What people don't know is that every single device that you're using has sort of like a unique identifier. So your cell phone has a unique identifier. Your computer has also an IP address that is being used for you to communicate with the rest of the world. So as people think that they are actually anonymous on the internet space, you can be traced and you can be tracked down, and where necessary, the relevant steps can be taken against you.
Yeah, I mean, an example that comes to mind, and look, he's not really trying to hide his identity, but Musa Kaula has, been trending for all manner of reasons. We know that he's now been arrested in relation to comments he's made on social media in particular. And in many ways, and I don't know, you work with this more than I do, it feels like a uncharted territory and may set some kind of precedent moving forward about the kinds of consequences that await people who act in a very unvetted way on social media.
As I said, I think our law has not been asleep. There have been several litigations concerning interdicts that can be issued in the event where there's harmful content or defamatory content. We also now are seeing a trend of criminal defamation cases being opened, and our prosecutorial services also pursuing those. So there is a rich body of law that has developed, should I say, the last 5 to 10 years to regulate behavior online and really make people understand that you are not invincible on the online space, and that there is a certain way in which we expect you to conduct yourself so that you don't hurt other people's dignity, you don't violate other people's rights, but in the internet space.
Speaking of defamation, we do see many instances of people sharing images of individuals that are still accused of certain cases, including sexual violence, and haven't necessarily been proven to have committed those crimes, which of course falls, well, let me ask the question this way. In what ways does that compromise the principle of innocent until proven guilty?
Well, we have seen that the use of social media basically allows there to be a court of public comment. So as good as social media can be used to communicate good things, it is also being used now, unfortunately, to paint certain people in bad light or cast them in a particular light. As you correctly have said, you do have the right to be seen as innocent until proven guilty. However, there are people who have decided to make certain posts where they want basically the court of public comment to start making comments on these issues. And unfortunately, people are then cast in a particular light, whereas the legal processes have not commenced or have not been completed.
Yeah. Is there a clear-cut way of ascertaining where the line is when it comes to people just sharing their opinions about particular individuals or cases and, entering the realm of defamation and impending or impeding on someone's dignity?
Look, the law on defamation, unfortunately, is not crystal clear in terms of where you can go to a couple of lines and say, these are the things that you can do and these are the things that you cannot do. But with that having been said, I think the bone mores, and you're going to say to me, but Prof, why Latin? The legal convictions of our society, I think they're the ones that should dictate to us and are dictating to us in terms of the Constitution what type of comment we consider offensive, what type of content we consider harmful, and what content one would rather not disseminate, rather than just, irresponsibly sharing same. The law on defamation also has certain defenses. I mean, if something is the truth and you are saying the truth, then the truth obviously will set you free. There's also the issue of if something is of public interest. We've got several court cases that crystallize that the mere fact that something is in the public space or a person is a public figure, that does not make it of public interest. But with that having been said, public interest being another one of those defenses that you can use to justify your right to freedom of expression. I think what people should appreciate is that what you do on online space is what you should be doing or cannot be doing in the bricks and mortar world. So if you can't go and take a poster and make obscene statements on that poster and parade yourself on the street, and don't do it on the online space either, because basically that is the same thing.
Absolutely. I've seen in many instances people putting in their, what we call it, bios or bylines on their accounts that, retweets are not endorsements, or I tweet in my personal capacity. Are those watertight safeguards? In other words, if I was hauled before a court of law and I brought that as some kind of caveat to protect myself, would it stand?
Look, I think the reason why people put these caveats or they attempt to put these caveats is because they think by putting that, they are now basically not going to be either followed by their employer or by the authorities. As to what you tweet and what you retweet, you need to be very responsible about it. I mean, the presumption is that, first of all, it is not children that are tweeting, it is people who are adults. And, in the event where you tweet something that is really offensive, I don't think retweeting same and saying that, look, I was just sharing you to show this. I mean, we've had several instances where people share pornographic contents a couple of years ago of a minor, and everyone was saying this in the zest of, have you seen that video? Well, when you are sharing this video, you are committing one of the acts that you shouldn't be doing of redisseminating child pornography. So, liking content, you could be liking hate speech. Why would you want to like hate speech? If you are liking hate speech, it means you're associating yourself with that hate speech, and you agree with that. And with the same thing, obviously, there shouldn't be censure of journalism or people who are bloggers who want to bring out information out there. I don't think the law is there to thwart people from sharing content and from letting other people know what's happening around the world. But I think one has to be a little bit sensible and not just retweet stuff or share a video using the defense of freedom of speech or the right of journalistic freedom of expression.
Sure. It's amazing how much has changed over the past decade when it comes to how we interact with these platforms. Professor Sizwe Mtuze, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. Really sobering reminders of the kind of responsibility expected from everyone on social media as we try, of course, interact with our ever-changing world. Professor Mtuze is a cyberlaw expert with the Nelson Mandela University. Once again, thanks very much indeed.